Within the past week, some civil society groups held a Ways and Means Roundtable in Abuja as they continue to prepare for a comprehensive monitoring of next month's presidential election. From the deliberations, it was apparent that the capacity and readiness of INEC to conduct each free elections continues to nag the minds of this group of observers, especially regarding the purported 2.7 million invalid entries, which the Commission said it has expunged from the voter register. YAG Africa's Executive Director, Samson Itodo, specifically demanded that the election management body create a separate register for the affected entries. Right now, we're being joined by Auwal Rafsanjani, Executive Director of Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center and Head of Transition Monitoring Group for a conversation around this matter. What else are civil society groups doing to hold INEC accountable in respect of the conduct, information, and citizen education ahead of the elections? Good morning, Auwal. Good to have you join us today.
Thank you very much. Good morning, and good morning, viewers.
All right, thank you. I mean, let's start with an overview of the assessment of the readiness of INEC. What are your thoughts, particularly in delving into the so-called 2.7 million voters that have been deregistered because of certain reasons given by INEC? Where is INEC headed in this direction, and do you think that it will serve the purpose? Are people not being disenfranchised, or this is, a shape of things to come as we inch closer to the general elections next month?
Thank you very much again. Well, 2023 general election is going to be different from the previous election we've had since 1999. This is because of the huge expectation of the Nigerian people and the international community to ensure that INEC actually do the needful to ensure that all those gaps, all those challenges that keep on repeating itself, this time around there must not be room for that to happen. And that is why a lot of Nigerians are eager to see how serious the preparation for the 2023 general election is been going on with the INEC and other relevant institutions that's supposed to complement the effort of INEC. So because of the so much, expectation of Nigerians to exercise their fundamental right to elect leaders at local, state, and national level, that's why it is absolutely imperative that INEC take necessary measures to ensure that those repeated challenges and even the new emerging challenges are adequately addressed. Now, the issue of 2.7 million invalid registration is raising a huge concern amongst Nigerians, because we have not had any plan from INEC on how to mitigate this challenge. And you remember, other challenges that INEC is facing or that has not been able to address squarely to Nigerians has to do with the fact that so many of its facilities and equipment have been destroyed as a result of the coordinated attack by those who do not wish Nigerians to have free, fair, and credible election in Nigeria. We have not had INEC plan or plan B on that. The third issue has to do with those names that appear that are underage, which INEC had actually, pointed out. We have not had plan on what, has been done to ensure that even those who connive to put those lists in the INEC register, sanction or action has been taken against them. So INEC must be careful so that the expectation and the hope and confidence Nigerians are giving to them, they should not mortgage that. They should not do anything that will create doubt among Nigerian people. And if only, less than, 5 weeks to the election, we are still talking about 2.7 invalid registration. And again, PVC that have been destroyed as a result of all these attacks. We have not had any concrete plan on it, and even uncollected PBC, then it must be a concern to many Nigerians. And Transition Monitoring Group, which is the umbrella of civil society organization observing elections since 1999, is very much concerned, very much worried at the way things are going. We have had series of assurances from INEC, but we don't want to Nigerians to be taken for granted. You keep on assuring, and then when it comes to the day of the election, those same challenges, are popping up. We don't want that to happen, because that will also affect the work that even we as civil society have been doing, trying to mobilize Nigerians to participate in this election, because Nigerians are actually sick and tired of the bad governance, corruption, insecurity, lack of job. And Nigerians, the only opportunity they have is through this election to elect people at local, state, and national level that they believe can be held accountable, can also be able to organize governance in a manner that can respond to the yearnings and aspirations of Nigerians. The insecurity in the country at local, state, and national level is overwhelming. The corruption, is also has been successfully democratized at all levels, to the extent that virtually everywhere you go, it is like a passion for that agency or institution to embark on that. So we need leaders that will be focused, that will have the interests of the country, that can actually put systems in place and strengthen institutions. And the only way is through having free, fair, and credible election to elect people that can be able to do that and hold them accountable where they didn't do that. So, but first and foremost, we need INEC to ensure that Nigerians are given the opportunity to do this election. Nigerians are not, being ambushed by this failure of logistic challenges, so that everyone that is entitled or that is supposed to cast or vote based on collected, PBC, and also valid registration, and following the due process during the election, that person is given that opportunity as our law allows. But then, if INEC continue to, encounter these challenges, and some of it have already manifested before the election day, and we are not getting that fundamental assurances of INEC fixing those problems, then definitely we must continue to raise concern and worries. So what we have been doing with INEC as partners to INEC is to continue to raise this issue before them, because if you are sleeping and you don't have anybody to wake you up from your slumber, then there may be bigger challenges. So we don't want a situation whereby on the election day, there will be chaos. There will be, ungovernable election, situation. No, we don't want that to happen. That is why we are raising this issue, so that INEC, can deal with this decisively. We know in the past few elections that have happened, INEC has done incredibly well in terms of responding to logistics. But we cannot still take it for granted that even that one, will be completely addressed. So Transition Monitoring Group is, waking up INEC and all relevant government agencies and even the politicians to, do the needful to ensure that this time around that Nigerians, especially the young people who are determined to kick bad leaders at all levels, are not, disallowed, as a result of these challenges that is not theirs, but as a result of, probably the inefficiency or lack of taking, certain timely action to correct them. So Transition Monitoring Group and other civil society organizations are worried, are concerned that few weeks to the election, we are still hearing this large number of voters registration that is being called invalid registration. What is INEC doing to ensure that a quick response to this thing has been addressed? Because you cannot deprive 2.7 million prospective voters from voting. It will be a big challenge. Everywhere, this number is huge, and we cannot afford to ignore these people who have done what is expected of them, but the challenges are not coming from them, but coming from INEC. And even those uncollected, or rather destroyed PVC, what is the plan to ensure that they have been quickly replaced and people collect them? Because if you do not also do that, you may also create problems, because we don't want this election to come with illegitimacy. Nigerians and international community are expecting this election to really hold in a manner that will be better than the previous elections, because of the high expectation by the Nigerian people and the international community. So INEC must do everything possible to ensure that gaps and lapses are closed before the election commences, because we don't want any chaos, we don't want any problem as a result of denial of legitimate voters to vote during the election.
All right, yeah. Another civil society organization, YIGA Africa, as Steve alluded in his introduction, has asked INEC to publish details, of the voter registration declared invalid. I don't know if your organization have had engagement with INEC in regards to that as well, so that we can see those names. Now, you run the biggest... Sorry, go ahead. Were you going to answer that?
No, I was trying to respond to that, but conclude the questions.
Well, I was going to go into another question about technology. I know that you hold one of the biggest monitoring groups, and technology has since changed since last election with the BVAS and all of that. What are other ways to check voter turnout using technology? For example, maybe drone shots, satellite images, because some of these numbers about the voter turnouts have been disputed in the past.
Okay, as you know, those who do not wish us to have free, fair, and credible election are still, debating and agitating that INEC, as this hour, must not use technology to conduct the election. You've had so many of these prominent political parties and politicians who they survive only on rigging to say that we should not do that. But they are late, because it is not possible. Nigerians, we have successfully mobilized Nigerians to ensure that the Electoral Act are reformed in a manner that will eliminate those dubious rigging that they were doing. And therefore, they are not happy, they are not comfortable, and they are doing everything possible to equally frustrate this effort of using technology to ensure that we have one man, one vote, one woman, one vote. They didn't like that. And we, as civil society, we are working closely with INEC to ensure that that succeeds, because the credibility and the acceptability of the election will only hinge on the fact that this election is done transparently. This election is done in a manner that will guarantee Nigerians to have the correct results of the election that have taken place. Any attempt to mortgage or undermine the use of the Electoral Act as amended to conduct election, which include use of technology, Nigerians will heavily resist that, and that will put a shame on those people who only survive on the basis of rigging. So therefore, civil society organization, particularly the Transition Monitoring Group, is working with both INEC and also various Nigerian media organizations to ensure that we cover this observation, this election, effectively and efficiently as it happened. So various newspaper and media are going to be working closely with the Transition Monitoring Group to ensure, that everyone that is supposed to cast his or her vote is done in a manner as prescribed by our electoral law. Secondly, we want to make sure that the observation is done beyond just the physical, but also using the technology to monitor the compliance of the Electoral Act itself. So there are a number of strategies that transition monitoring group and other civil society are deploying to make sure that, we will not have a repeat of the challenges that we are having, and taking advantage of the new Electoral Act amendment that allows the use of technology to ensure that we observe the election and make sure that Nigerians are getting what they deserve to get, not what some people will go and cook or thumbprint. This is not going to work. And this time around, that's why we are encouraging INEC to make sure that they did not create any doubt. All these challenges, like the 2.7 million, registration, status, the issues of those destroyed PVC, the issues of also effort for Nigerians to ensure that they go to collect their PVC at various places, and also INEC officials being present there. These are all very important before we get into the election. Because if we do not address that, that might be a big, failure, which we will not, as a nation, survive that failure.
All right. Okay, Mr. Auwal, just 2 minutes more that we've got with you, and I'd like you to address this within that time frame. A lot of people have spoken about the fact that 70 million out of the 93 that INEC declared will be eligible to vote next month and in March are youth and young Nigerians below the age of 49. But what people have not emphasized is the fact that about 26 million of those 70 are students and younger people who are back in school now and who might find it difficult either to access their polling units on election day or even to travel at all. Will that be an issue for those about 26 million people who are within that bracket? If you can address that in just about a minute for us, please.
Okay, this is really a big challenge, and we understand that some, educational institutions have organized. They are organizing, exams on that same day, which is very unfortunate because it shows lack of coordination. It shows lack of shared information among government institutions and agencies. Otherwise, I cannot understand how a school will be holding examination for students on the day the election is taking place, which means that there's a poor communication gaps among government institutions for them to do that. Now, like we rightly mentioned, some students are going to be victims of this whole arrangement, because if there is no effort to make sure that you project that there's going to be school at that period, and maybe student can be home, a week before that, then you will have alienated that large number of the students, since there's no rapid effort to ensure that wherever you are, you cast your vote. Like in other advanced countries, wherever you are, you can be able to do that. In fact, they send it by mail. I have watched and observed election in Germany. You don't need to go anywhere. In fact, you can just mail it and send it, and nobody is going to tamper with it. So we are not yet there, but we must get there, so that all this alienation and this, opportunity not to, participate in the election will be a thing of past.
All right.
All right.
Thank you very much for joining us on the morning show.